Hello and welcome to HCEC-TV. I'm Dominic Sipes and we took a little field trip with our East Hardin Middle School kids to KET, where they got to see, film, and do other things.
Are you ready to see the studio? Yeah! All right, I'm gonna have you line back up at this door and we're gonna go down the hall.
So as we are walking through KET, there's tons of cool things to see, but we have to make sure we're being quiet for people working in offices, okay? There's people editing, there's people filming, there's people writing, all kinds of stuff, okay? So when we get to the studio, we can talk and we can chat about what's in there, but we gotta be quiet in the halls, okay? Can I get a head nod? Y'all feel me?
Welcome to Studio A. So it's called Studio A because we have two studios. The other one's called Studio B, as you might have guessed. So this is our main studio. This is where the majority of our filming goes on. So we have a few different sets in here, as you can see. The one behind me is our biggest one. That's the one we use the most often. And then we have that one over there, and then the connection set in the back corner, which you guys already saw a little bit. The other stuff around is just kind of like supplemental extra things that they'll pull out if they need to do a one-off shooting. So this is the main set where we do news type programs. So we have different ones called Kentucky Edition, Kentucky Tonight, Comment on Kentucky. They are both live and pre-taped programs that kind of just cover things going on in the Commonwealth. They interview different people from across the state that are doing really cool things. Sometimes we have like forums in here where we'll have multiple people like kind of on a panel answering questions, talking about a certain topic. So this set is best for like group discussions. We'll have multiple people behind these sets. Over there, it's more of the type of thing like if it's just one person speaking into the camera. I don't know if you guys ever watched News Quiz, but when we do News Quiz recordings in Lexington, they're over there on that set. The connection set over there it's kind of like a one-on-one interview show. Renee Shaw is the host here at KET, and she just brings in different people who are doing cool things from across the state and ask them about what's going on. You guys noticed when you came into the studio, it's really quiet in here and there are no echoes. That is completely intentional. So this room was soundproofed whenever we built it. So some ways that we did that: 60,000 pounds of sand in the walls. So that is interrupting the sound waves, making sure that no crazy noises are bouncing around, as well as the curtains. We also have several feet of concrete above us to kind of block out the noise of the sky. We do have like helicopters and things that fly overhead a lot, and so when we're in the studio, we actually cannot hear anything that's going on outside, and the hope is that no one in the rest of the building can hear what's going on in here either. So if the world were ending outside right now, we wouldn't know it because we're, in here in this,
for a tornado.
Yes, this wonderful soundproof windowless room. So some other interesting things about the studio you may have noticed. What else did you notice when you came in here? Yeah.
Over there looks like the Tonight Show.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So it's like a one-on-one interview with these like local celebrities instead of, the big celebrities, people who are doing good things in Kentucky, and they might have musicians over there sometimes, things like that. Yeah.
All these things above us.
Yes, so if you'll look up, you'll see our lighting system. Our lighting system here is on a grid. So what we're able to do when we need to adjust lighting, or if we want to put a filter over a light, change something, we don't have to get up on ladders to do that. We can use a pulley, and I don't know exactly where it is. They don't tell me where it is, but there's a pulley somewhere, and we can lower these grids down so that it comes down to our level and we can change things as needed and then raise them back up. A lot of groups, when they come in here, they ask is it a possibility that all of this could fall on us? No, it's not, because unless something really drastic and crazy happened, because as you see, like the wires that they're hanging on, they might look like just strings or ropes or something, but they're made of steel, and so they're super strong and they're not going anywhere. So super safe place to be for the most part. Everything in here is on wheels, so we can like scoot things around really easily if we need to. Let's talk about the cameras though. Just one of these cameras is $300,000, which is roughly the cost of a house in Lexington right now, unfortunately. So yeah, that's why I say don't touch anything, because I don't want to be on the line for that, and I don't think you do either. So here's how the camera kind of works. Back here is where the camera operator stands. They hold these handles and they are able to move it around. It's also on wheels, so they can scoot it wherever they need to go. Right now they are in the spots they are for a reason. They're gonna do a shoot in here later today of Kentucky Edition, and they like to have these like preset before they come in. So have you guys heard of a teleprompter?
Yes.
So yeah, when we are filming someone on air, we typically don't like expect them to just freestyle, like say whatever they want to say. We like them to kind of stick to a script. And so our producers will write that script ahead of time and program it into the teleprompter, and then it reads. So here's how it works. This is the screen right here, so it's flat. And as you can see, my hand is kind of reflected up here in this mirror. Behind the mirror is the camera lens. So when the screen shows the script, reflects it over the camera lens, and the person is able to read exactly what they need to say, and it looks like they're looking straight into the camera. So that's why you can't usually tell if they're reading, but if you do look closely at like a news host's eyeballs, like while you're watching the news, like they're moving just a little bit because they are reading something. So the other part of the camera, this screen down here, just shows like what this camera can see while it's on, and it'll have some language saying like whether it's live, whether this is the camera that's on. So we have 3 or 4 going at one time typically to film whatever our program is, so we can easily switch between shots if we need to, get different people who are speaking, different angles and things like that. Okay, if you look at that camera there on the crane, that is called a jib, and it's a funny name, I know, but it is kind of on a weight system. So if you look at the back of it, there are literally like the weights that you use in the gym on the back to balance it out and make it higher up. If you take weight off, you can make the camera go lower. So that's just, it's really just for like visual interesting shots. Like they don't use it a ton unless we have kind of like a studio audience in here, and they want to get like a wide angle of the studio. All of the wires in here that you see, like the lights, the cameras, anything that has a wire, it is ultimately going back and connecting to that wall over there. You can see most of them, and they are connecting to the control room, which is what we will go see next. Do you guys have any questions about the studio? Yeah.
On average, how much would everything in here cost?
It's a really good question. I would say it is in the 10 million range. I don't know exactly, but it's a lot, and a lot of really important things in this studio specifically. Yes, sir.
How do you get the money?
How do we get the money? That's a really good question. So KET is funded by a lot of different sources. Part of it comes from the state government. Part of it comes from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is basically the big PBS people. And part of it comes from private donors. So you might, if you've ever watched PBS Kids or something like that, it'll say PBS Kids is made possible by viewers like you. They say that because we take donations from people in the community and all around the country who are really passionate about what we do here, and they're able to keep us running, keep our programs going. So we get the money from a lot of different sources. All right, guys. I think we're gonna go over to the control room next. If you guys want to take like a group picture in here or anything, feel free. I didn't know if y'all wanted to do that here or maybe outside. Okay. Back there behind the set is a really good place. KET rocks! This is the control room, and you can see a lot of different things going on the screens right now at the front. So basically, in these rooms, they're able to see, typically the middle screen is what they would be paying attention to the most. That would show, if all the cameras in the studio were on, it would show each camera's view as well as like what's live on TV right now and a preview of like what we want to see. So the other screens that you've asked about are other channels, and it's just kind of showing like what's going out over the air right now, so that it just helps them know like this is going out over the air on a different channel. For reference, we have multiple KET channels. So we have the main KET channel, KET2, KET-KY, and then 24/7 PBS Kids. Yeah, what's your question?
What's the countdown for?
The countdown, so on the screen, that's just the time. The clock at the top is just, they use it to show different break times, how long someone has to talk in their, while they're on camera, things like that. It's just to like let them know where they are when they're about to go live, because when that clock counts down, it's like now we're on the air.
A typical day, how many people work in this space at one time?
So typically we have, the front row is always full, and then we might have 2 or 3 in the back. So that's about 5 or 6 people in here during a typical production. So I'll go over like what each seat does, because they do have different functions. Up here, the front left, this is the graphics coordinator seat. So the graphics coordinator is responsible for not only creating the graphics like this Inside Louisville, Kentucky edition, all those type things. They're also responsible for making sure they go on screen at the right time, especially if we have a live program. So if you guys ever see like breaking news, Taylor Swift wins Album of the Year, it's a graphics coordinator who created that, and they're also responsible for making sure that hits the screen at the right time. So the middle front up here is the director's seat. The director is the person who's pretty much in charge while we're in the control room and in the studio. So they wear a headset that connects them to the videographers who are standing in the spot that I showed you earlier. And they're literally calling the shots. They're telling them, hey, we need to move over here. Hey, we're about to get this shot. Hey, like this lighting's bad. We need to stop and adjust. Anything like that that has to do with the actual shoot and the actual production, they're in charge of. They're also in charge of switching between shots. So where it says cam 1, cam 2, blah, blah, blah. Usually if a certain one is selected, it'll have a ring around it that shows that. His fancy board there, I say his because our director, they're currently men, but they could be females also. They switch between the cameras using their switcher board, and yeah, that's essentially what the director does. So next to the director on the other side sits the producer. Like I said earlier, the producer is the person who wrote the script. So they are in charge of the content of the actual program. So they're focusing on like what is the message that we want to bring to people, who are we interviewing, who are we bringing into the studio. They also have a headset on that connects them to the host. So the host has like a tiny little earpiece that the producer can tell them, hey, like be sure that you ask this question, hey, the conversation's kind of going this way, we want to make sure it goes this way, things like that. That's what the producer's in charge of. And so they sit over there and do that type of thing. On the back row, I think it's typically associate producers who sit back there. They do kind of the same things as the producer, but it's more of the administrative side of it. So they will take care of like the scheduling. If you see in the back right over there, there's a little like dial that they can turn. That controls the teleprompter. So someone sits back there and manually scrolls through the script while they're speaking so that it doesn't like get ahead or stay behind or anything like that. Some of you mentioned Andy Bashir on the screen over there. Another thing that we're really proud to do here at KET is bring legislative coverage to our channels. The KET-KY channel that I mentioned earlier is where that happens. So when certain legislative government things are happening, we're able to broadcast that live. We're currently the only media station who is allowed in the legislative areas while it's going on to broadcast that to the nation or to the state. So that's a really cool thing we do too. The other thing about the control room I wanted to add is the audio room. It's right over there through the window. It's kind of sequestered away from everybody else for obvious reasons. They need to hear very closely what's going on. So like I said, all this stuff connects back over to the studio. So mostly they're listening for mics, making sure everyone's mics sound good. There's no weird background noise. Things like that. If we have music in the background, they're the people who are adjusting it and making sure it's not too loud or too soft. So yeah, that's what the audio booth is for. We're gonna loop around and go see the editing suites a little bit. We won't go in those, but we'll talk about them from the hallway. After the producer puts it together in the smaller editing suite, they send it over to the finishing editing suites where the finished editors are looking super close at it. As you can see, these people, they're locked in. They have all the lights off. They are really focused on what they're looking at because they're making sure all of our colors are right, making sure graphics look okay, making sure the film is smooth. They are the people who are making sure it's good to go out over the air. So after it gets done with a finished editor, they send it to audio post-production to clean up any of the weird environment noises in the background, add sound effects if they need to, and then audio sends it back to them one last time, and then they send it to master control to go out over the air. So we are gonna go into master control now. Welcome to master control. So master control is kind of the last line of defense. That's what they call themselves before any of our programs go out over the air. So in this room, they can literally see everything that is going out right now, as well as some of the things that have already gone out. It's a little confusing to look at without much context, but like I said earlier, we have all 4 channels going at the same time in here. So the first KET channel here, KET2, KET-KY, and then the PBS Kids is over there. They are pretty much making sure we can see from these screens how it looks as it's going out over the transmitters. So if something looks like foggy, or if it looks like you see like the sound bars on the sides of the screens, the little squares, that's showing like what the volume levels are like. If we have somebody call in and they're like, hey, the sound is out on KET2, the people in here are kind of the first response to call whoever they need to call, make whatever changes they need to make sure that we get that fixed. If there's ever some kind of emergency at one of the transmitter sites, these are the people who are making all the necessary moves to fix what's going on. We have someone in here pretty much all the time to watch these screens and make sure everything's okay. Like I said earlier, we have 16 transmitters across the state. Some of you were asking about that map over there. It's on that computer screen as well as the monitor right in front of it. That's showing what each transmitter all the way across the state is showing right now. So that's just an easy way for us to look at it, and like if one of them's dark, if one of them looks weird, that's how we know like something specifically is going on with that transmitter site. A lot of what we show is it's programming that we have purchased or borrowed from other PBS stations. It's all PBS programming, but it isn't all KET production. So things like you mentioned Downton Abbey earlier, like we don't film Downton Abbey, we do not create Sesame Street. We just use those programs and put them out over the air. We do have a lot of original KET productions too, documentaries and things like that. And they air pretty frequently on the main KET and other channels too. But if you were to see Ryan Reynolds on KET, I would say the chances are we did not film him. We got that film from somebody else, and we're airing a program that's owned by a different PBS station. In this like area over here, that's where they kind of like record programs and put them once upon a time into like tapes and DVDs and stuff like that. Now they're just going into like our streaming service and things like that. We're one of the biggest PBS stations in the country. We used to be the biggest, but I'm not sure if that's exactly accurate anymore. But it's huge what we do here, and we're really glad to be able to bring that programming across the state. Yep. Do we have drones? Is that what you said? Yeah, so we do have drones. We use them for different things like filming purposes mostly, to take pictures. I know that you have to be licensed to fly a drone, so I don't remember exactly who the folks are that use them. We don't use them very much for that reason, but yes, we do use them, especially for like aerial shots. We have a program called Kentucky Seasons that they produced a few years ago. And it literally is just, it covers the different seasons in Kentucky and nature and things. And so we had a lot of drone shots for that program. Okay guys, this is kind of like the last stop on the tour before we go to the media labs.
This other man said when horses are running, there's a point where all of the hooves are never coming off the ground. So when you run, like your 2 feet go like this, right? So this guy was like, well, obviously one of the horse's legs has to be on the ground at the whole time. So what Edward Muybridge did, and this was 1878, so a while ago, what he did was he set up this super elaborate experiment, especially for the time, where he had all these tripwires, and he had a horse run. Every time it hit a tripwire, a camera would take a photo, right? So then, that's why we have this beautiful, basically, conglomerate of film strip, right? So film is just a series of photos being taken really quickly. All right, so let's talk about green screen, okay, and what it is. So green screen, or chroma keying, basically means chroma means color, keying means you take something out, right, like digitally. So we are digitally taking the color out and replacing it with something else. So my Cookie Monster to the right, that is exactly what is happening, okay? So what is so cool about green screen is why we picked green, all right? So you all see all these pictures of people's skin tones. You see reds, you see blues, you see pinks, oranges, green, or you don't see green. You see all these other colors but green, right? Nobody is walking around looking like a Martian. Nobody has green undertones in their skin, okay? That's why we picked this neon fluorescent green. Because unless you're wearing like a green sweatshirt or something, you can stand in front of that screen and it's gonna take the background away perfectly, right? You're not gonna blend in. And when we talk about doing the news, we use green screen in the news all the time. Which is really, really fabulous, especially in the weather. Do you have a question?
Yeah, on the weather channel, you know, they're like pointing and things. How do they know it's weather?
That's a good question. So we'll kind of show you guys today when we do our green screen activity, but basically they can see themselves in a monitor that shows both them and what is kind of behind them. So whatever we see as a viewer, they have that in front of them. Does that make sense? So they're kind of like, oh, over here, I can see myself and kind of pick. But it brings a good point of what did they do before we had green screen? This is what Weathercast used to be like, y'all. It was just a big old printed map. It was somebody writing either weather or wind conditions and temperatures just flat out, or we had little happy sun, brownie cloud, that kind of thing, right? So it also makes learning about the weather and just what's going to happen a lot more accessible with green screen too. All right, you guys ready to see the first use of green screen ever?
Yes.
All right, so this was 1940. So are you ready to be amazed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come with us on a ship of adventure to meet the Thief of Baghdad in that ancient land of mystery, romance, thrills, and excitement. Baghdad, city of magic. Baghdad, where breathtaking miracles leap before your eyes.
That's it. Is that the best thing you've ever seen? Is that like the most impressive, coolest thing ever? Okay, so y'all, 1940. That was dang impressive at the time, okay? Timelines, if you don't know, are basically like if you're watching a YouTube video or something and you see that tracker like move through the video, that's gonna be like your timeline, okay? So I've got 3 layers. You're gonna make sure your video layer, so it says Elmo video, yours will just say camera, is on top of your background, okay? Think of it this way. If I'm making a awesome pepperoni pizza and I put the pepperonis on top of the cheese, I can still see those pepperonis, right? If I have a pizza and I put the pepperonis under the cheese, I can't see them anymore. Same thing, okay? So whatever is the top layer, you're gonna see it over whatever's underneath it. You guys are gonna write your scripts, okay, on our teleprompter app. After that, you guys are gonna start filming with our green screen, okay? So one more thing to mention. Here are the 3 people you guys are going to have on camera, okay? Your on-screen talent, as it were. You're going to have somebody be a newscaster in the studio. So, we were at the studios today. You guys saw kind of where people sit and everything like that, right? You're going to have someone play the character of a newscaster saying, hello, my name is so-and-so. Welcome to the evening news, morning news, whatever. You know, breaking news live. We're going to the scene of this crime, whatever. Then you're going to have a reporter who is going to be at the scene of that crime or event, okay? And then you're gonna have an eyewitness who's being interviewed. So you have somebody in the home studio, you have somebody at the scene of the crime, and you've got a pedestrian you're interviewing.
Reporting for HCEC-TV, my name is River Perry, and I'm here with the students of East Hardin Middle School at KET, one of the largest public broadcasting corporations in America.
Hello, my name is Aiden Gonzalez, and I'm in 7th grade. The thing I enjoyed most was the editing and the production. That was the funnest, in my opinion.
Hi, my name is Aiden Cypress. I'm in 7th grade. One thing I really enjoyed about the KET tour was definitely the studio, and honestly, one thing that I just really like about it is just the amount of like cameras and stuff that there are, and the fact that they shoot like news crews and everything. It's just really neat.
Alright, so my name is Owen Brodsky. I'm in 7th grade. I go to East Hardin Middle School, and my favorite thing here was the green screen, because like it taught me how to. It taught me how to like use a green screen, because I didn't know beforehand, and yeah, it was fun.
Hi, my name is Miss Norris. We're from East Hardin. The thing I liked most about today was watching the kids in the media lab creating their own videos and their own teleprompts.
My favorite thing about today is the control room, and my name is Braden from East Hardin.
Hi, I'm Kelly Baucom at East Hardin Middle School, and the thing I enjoyed today about this tour of KET was for the students to see the studio and to get some experience with green screen editing.